Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk to you about why you don't want to be friends with the narcissist. Why does the narcissist want to be friends with you after discard? So let's jump in. The narcissist wants to be friends after discard because if they can get you to be friends with benefits, then they'll be okay with that. That means they can always get you back for permanent supply. But a lot of times you will go no contact and there'll maybe a time period there where you don't talk to the narcissist. Maybe you heal up or partially heal up. And the narcissist may come back in and ask you to be friends. You may agree to do that and they may act okay for a time, but when you've been, first of all, in a love partner relationship, I don't think it's good for you to be friends with the individual later. I don't think it's healthy for your future relationships. But on to the topic of the narcissist. The narcissist is about power control, getting validation, and usually it's by any means necessary. And if that's the case, they're going to push the boundaries always. They're always there when you know who they are, for instance, or you're awoke to who they are, and they want to be friends with you. You're going to constantly be fighting with controlling the boundaries in the situation. They're always going to push the note to a point to where you're going to end up either folding to them or going no contact again. So it just doesn't work once you've woken up. And for those that are asleep, well, they're going to be continually in folly anyway. And that's the problem with the black sheep that's unawoke. And that's why they continue to have folly until they wake up and know what they're dealing with. Then it's going to be hard. It would be hard for you to even be friends with a black sheep because they're going to be in some cases, toxic themselves as a toxic enabler and unaware of kind of what they're doing, what they're folding to, and the wrong thoughts in mind because they think like humanity, the black sheep does, and they think they can love them to death and it's going to change at some point, but it's not, because the narcissist is fixed. And as much as you want to have faith that they could change, I think that when you're new to awakening to this, you have high hopes of that. If you dig in deep, you will think you can get them delivered, which is out of the range of possibility because of the way that they have become permanently possessed. And if you don't believe on the spiritual side of it, then you're still going to have to look at their anatomy. And their anatomy is that on the PET scans and MRIs, they're completely shut down in areas where you would need them to be lit up and active for them to change. And for them to be completely shut down means they're not of use. They've closed up permanently. They didn't close up permanently from birth, but they allowed them to be closed up and forced themselves into a negative vibration and heading towards evil, where they ran to evil. You know, when you're in trouble, you want to run to the Lord, you know, and that's what it talks about in the word. But there's also people that run to evil, and they do it out of fear. They do it out of not wanting to deal, because of the fear, to deal with the situations that are in front of them. So they build up and protect everything, their fear, with pride, and pride comes in. And once pride steps in and it continues to be there, it molds them into heading towards evil. And once they get to a certain point where they've shut down the love sectors, their creativity sectors, their common sense sectors of their brain, their mind, they're in a place where they can do nothing of goodness, because everything it would take to do goodness is in those sectors. And you have to make certain pacts and certain covenants and contracts with evil to get that far. It's not just that it happened overnight, and it's not just that it happened without major decisions being forged. This is something they chose to do, that they wanted. They wanted it more than goodness. And you have to understand that there are people that are going to be born that are going to tend to go towards evil. That's just what they want. That's just what they like. And they get what they choose. A lot of times you get what you choose in this earth. That way, when we get judged in the afterlife, we can't say that we didn't choose it or we didn't want it. So it's nothing really at some point to feel bad for them. It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate and it's sad, but it's a situation to where they have accepted these things and then walked down the pathway of deception. And all they are is deceptive tools for the enemy's use. So the longer or the time that you spend with them in any way, any which way, spending energy on them is going to cause you to fall and to fail, because they are very, very deceptive and they're out to do harm and to deceive you. So you got to be very careful walking down that road of trying to help the narcissist, because you can't, and it's spoken of in the word, there's some people you want nothing to do with, even if your blood relatives, even your children. I mean, at some point you have to decide they're going to do their own thing and have low contact with them, because they're destructive even to, say, their parents or their siblings. And at some point after the age of 18 or 21, you have to let them go, because they're going to make their own decisions anyway. And a lot of times we don't have too much of an influence on individuals. Individuals that change because they choose to, and because of some of the pain and the hurt that they go through during their walk here on this earth. It's just better for you, and it's right for you to do goodness and to seek that out and to become better at your true authenticity. And the narcissist is not built like that. They are built to, after a certain point and they've gone this far, to just destroy and to get better at their deception, their deceit. But the narcissist will want to be friends with you if they think that they can just keep you in their orbit, so they don't have to deal with the abandonment issue of you leaving them permanently. They may want to be friends or friends with benefits. They may talk change. They will try to get in there and have some sort of power and control over you. At some point, they're going to corrupt you. They also will use it as a tactic to get back in to hoover you again, even if it's years down the road. If they have a connection with you, they have the ability to hoover you, or at least they have at least 1 foot in. And they may also change the form of supply that you are for them. Everybody that the narcissist spends time with is some form of supply. They don't waste their time with somebody who's not going to give them supply. So if the narcissist is your friend, then you got to question, what are you doing for them? Because you're some sort of supply, you're causing energy to leave you to connect to them. They're still building a connection to you in the energetic realm, the emotional realm. They don't have goodness. And if you don't have the 9 fruits of the Spirit in you, then you can't do anything good. And that's why people always say, that are they delusional, or why do they think the way they do? They think that they can do good or right at some point or change. And maybe for some on the spectrum, it seems easier. But at the end of the day, all narcissists have gone down the road of a path that is never to return, as they may not be as destructive as the others that are further down the spectrum. They still are dealing with the same major issue, and that is that they put that mask up and they don't have a true self. And that initial pact, that situation with the becoming the mask and losing their true self, they put that mask into a God status in their life. They worship that mask. They protect that mask. You don't just get a mask like they do unless you have given yourself up. You don't get the qualities that they have. I'm not saying they're good, but the qualities that they have of deception and deceit, and to not be able to turn it around. They may not be to the spectrum of the sociopath or psychopath, but they still are under the same covenant that is irreversible. They don't have goodness, so they cannot change. They can only see one way, and it's a way of evil. And the times where, you think, well, are they delusional? Or they can't be delusional, but sometimes it feels that way, or it seems that way. It's because they cannot connect on any of the areas where it takes common sense, creativity, and something where you have an innate self, because they don't have any of those. They also cannot connect on anything that has thinking along and down the pathways of love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, goodness, long suffering, and good self-control. All of these fruits of the Spirit that are connected and tethered to your innate spirit and your inside voice. They are always counterintuitive because they don't have intuition. meaning everything that they want in life, they're actually going to be counterintuitive to. If they do want a relationship, they're going to be sabotaging it every day because they don't have goodness in them. And they're forming and living in a false reality that they formed through that mask. That mask is their God, and that is their protection. They cannot think anything spiritual because they do not have a spirit man. Their true self is not there anymore. So when you talk to the narcissist about anything spiritual, they just don't even care to talk about it, or it's very, very surface. They don't have the ability to get in depth with anything outside of this physical realm and what is having to do with things and monetarily or lust. They can't even feel love, so they have to live off lust. What they think is love is really lustful ways of humanity, and they're driven by those things. And to add to that, they are addicted to human forms of supply, and they have to get that for validation on how they're acting, how they're operating, because they don't have a true self. So they run around and chase that for hits of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. And then they get sadistic in most cases, and they fuel the adrenaline by putting fear in people. They hate and they rage out in anger, and they put a yoke of bondage around individuals that are in their orbit and in their life to reap negative harvest for the things that they are doing just because they're connected to them. They corrupt everything around them, and they're destroyers. They bring nothing to the table. Tell me what the narcissist ever gave you out of goodness and godliness, or that raised you up and helped you. They didn't do anything, but they strengthened you by you awakening and walking away. They didn't buy you anything good that was long lasting, and they didn't buy you anything or get you anything or do anything to help you build up your self-esteem or your self-control or your self-worth, any of it. They were never there for you when you needed them, because they cannot think along the lines of somebody that needs their help and there's nothing in it for them. They're transactional. And outside of transaction, they are just running around to fulfill their desires, their own desires. And just like in witchcraft, they say, do as thou wilt. And this world system, what we call they say the Illuminati, it's all the same spirit, y'all. It's the beast system. And the Illuminati says the same thing, and so does witchcraft, and so does the narcissist. They do as they wilt, meaning they will run over or destroy anybody in the pathway of doing as they wilt. That would be to perform their own lusts, to get their own desires met by any means necessary, regardless. There is no loyalty in the narcissist. And when you make them your friend, you are part of their harem, regardless if you think you are or not. And they will, when you continue to play with fire, especially when you're awoke, there's not grace for that. If they're going to change, they're going to change on their own a long time after you. You're never going to change them if you were in a relationship with them, because you're weak to the susceptibilities of them corrupting you again or deceiving you again because you cared. You already have too much emotion attached for it to do anything good for you and anything good for them. In fact, all you're going to do is be positive supply to them so that they can continue walking down this road of deceit, knowing that they have also you to prop them up along with all the others. It's called an enabler, and you become a toxic enabler anytime you're with the narcissist. Friends with them or lovers, whatever. For a narcissist to truly get healing would be for all supply to leave them and for them to be by themselves. That would be at all, if they ever had a chance, that would be it. The narcissist doesn't change. There is not one case on the face of this earth, and the ones that are self-aware, they talk nothing spiritual, that nothing helped them in a godly fashion. So they still can't feel love. They're just playing. They're playing with you. Because on the back end of that, I would bet that they are doing similar to the same things that they were doing before. They're just more covert with it. And you just don't know. They're trying to normalize narcissism in this world, and they're doing a good job of it. And having self-aware narcissists are people out there to tell you the truth of what narcissism is, because they have to tell the truth about everything evil in this world and everything true that's been lied about. And so they tell it like that, to have these self-aware narcissists out here, and they're doing that to normalize it. Now people can say they're self-aware, and it's going to be accepted. It's going to be okay. And if a narcissist was ever self-aware, they would be more apt to going back into the delusions over and over again. They rage out and they do all these things that are negative when you start to question them on things that they cannot receive because they don't have those abilities in their mind anymore. So that's a big part of it, where they have gaps because their mind and their heart is shut down and seared. That's where they rage out or give you silent treatment or ghost you or whatever, because they don't know how to handle it. It's a dead end. It's a cul-de-sac. They don't know what to do because they can't process it, because it doesn't exist anymore in their mind. And so that's why sometimes you think they're delusional and sometimes you think they're not. Anytime that you start getting into the places where it takes the 9 fruits of the spirit, your innate self and your inside voice, and anything spiritual, meaning godly, that you're going to talk about and conversate about, it's a dead end for them because they can't process that. They cannot go there because their brain and their mind and their heart's been shut down. It's been seared, like Romans 1 and 2 Timothy. And it says strictly in the word to have nothing to do with them, because they do not get any kind of joy. Their joy is to deceive people and to cause evil on people. And that's how they get their rest. So if you can give me a like, subscription, and a thumbs up, I love y'all till next time. Thank you guys, everybody, for the 10K subscribership. I couldn't do it without you. And if you weren't here listening to me speak, then I wouldn't have nothing. So I love y'all. I appreciate y'all's time and your support and your love on the channel. I love you back. And I'm gonna set up a live for y'all next. So thank you for watching. Till next time, soldier up. Peace, we out.